Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're so excited to have you all here today. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. This session is being recorded, and you'll receive access to the recording after the presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A section, and we'll answer them all at the end. Now, I'm pleased to pass it over to Dave King to get us started.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David King. I'm the president and CEO of Red Level Group, and Red Level Group is the proud owner and creator of Curia, which we are so excited to share with you today. Wanted to share with you a little bit about Curia, its history and its use, and hopefully how you may find it of use in your interpretive planning processes for your respective organizations. Curia as a product has been available in the market for almost 10 years. I think we're going on 8.5. And it was developed in conjunction with the Detroit Institute of Arts. With the DIA, as we affectionately call it here locally, as we are from the Detroit area. Of their curatorial staff, interpretive team, as well as the technology team, and they all came together to decide that they needed a better way to work, a better way to collaborate, and they needed a better way to share information regarding their interpretive planning processes. And over the course of about 1.5 years, and our team of consultants here, of which Clay Osborne is one of the senior architects that was a part of that creation and process, he'll be going over a demo of the full product and solution today. But we were able to create a solution that's a one of a kind in the market and is very special. And I think that once you kind of see it in action, you're going to say that there really isn't anything like this in the market. And if you do, please let me know, because I haven't found anything myself. So as Curia is the first collaborative interpretive planning project management app designed exclusively for the needs of visitor-centered museums and cultural center communities. So again, it kind of took the approach of how can we have a collective experience? How do we manage that? How do we share that? How do we make this a visitor-centric application? And as we kind of go through the demo today, you'll see that it works on tablets, you'll see that it works on mobile phones, and you'll see that it essentially is designed for the user outcome experience so that you can measure that and build upon that for the success of your organization. As a special bonus for everyone that's attending today, we are going to offer you 1 free year of a Curia license for your organization. So that means that you can bring that in-house, you can start working with it. And as a special bonus, we're going to add, again, just for those folks that are attending today, an onboarding session that we would normally have an onboarding fee with, of Clay Osborne himself working with you on a one-on-one basis with either you and or your team to get the trial started with you. So you'd be able to get it installed, you'd be able to work with your team, and Clay would be there for lockstep, be able to do all of that onboarding with you. And it's really kind of a special, we've never done this before of having that available. We do have a 30-day trial available on our website for folks to come in and be able to try that. But we wanted to try something different here with a special offer for all of you that attended today for the 1 year plus the onboarding time. So there won't be any fear of not being able to get started or not sure or bringing the right people together to kind of see this in action. And as Christy mentioned earlier, that you'd be able to share this presentation with them after. So part of the architecture that when this was created was really around 4 tenets: project management, tool management, historical preservation, and collaboration. So all of those things were so important as we kind of put together these components. On the interpretive planning side, what we wanted was a hierarchical structure. So you'll be able to see this as Clay does the demo of how you're able to build out your plan with intuitive dragging and drop features. So bringing things in from specific integrations that we have with TMS, Past Perfect, or EMU, and those are just 3 of the major collection management systems that are in the market. We do have export features, so even if you're not using one of those particular collection management systems, we are able to export your collections and your objects and be able to bring those in and be able to work with Curia accordingly. And Clay will answer some specifics around that. One of the things that's been really great is the summative and formative evaluation. So after your visitor experience, you'd be able to collect that information about how the interpretive plan went and be able to build upon that for future reference. And one feature that was really well received with our clients was the label creation. So there's so many times that you need to be able to create a label based on a part of the interpretive plan. And we've incorporated that feature now inside of Curia over the last 2 years so you could add and make changes to labels for your interpretive plan. On the project management side, there's just so many components that go into building an interpretive plan. Just short of a full project management solution, such as Microsoft Project or Monday or other things, we've incorporated a full project management suite to be able to incorporate inside of Curia so that you can receive notifications from assigned tasks, share documents with the team's progress, and see the whole picture with this master timeline. So you'd be able to see your entire interpretive plan on one screen and see where everyone's progress is at. It's essentially like bringing everyone together, and you're being able to share all of that information very collaboratively. Again, with regards to the collaboration, being able to share that plan and the projects, comments and discussion. So one of the key features of Curia is the ability to send that on to folks that might need to be able to approve or review components of the plan. So even if they're not part of the actual plan itself, but maybe there's a directorial level, or there's an outside vendor that you want to work with, or an art person that you need to send copies of information to, you can get comments, you can get collaboration working that way, and it's all real time because it's connected to your own objects and data sets. Curia really replaces a lot of these type of tools. When we built this solution many years ago, we found that people were using Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and just a various number of tools to kind of get their job done. And by being able to bring this all together, it really brought together, it reduced their costs because they weren't doing all these different miscellaneous tools, and they were really bringing the entire solution of project management, form management, labeling, the entire interpretive planning process together under one umbrella. So being able to pull all those pieces together was really part of the architecture and design and the intent of this. And I'm so excited to kind of share that with everyone today. So with that, that's just the warm up for this. This is for getting started with Curia, but really the show is all about Clay and being able to walk through this. And Clay's going to take this over now and kind of drive the demo, but please ask questions along the way. And ask questions either in the chat, or we can stop this depending on the amount of questions that we have. But really, Clay's going to be driving this, and we are so looking forward to this Q&A side of things. Thanks, Clay. It's all yours.
Hello, everybody. So welcome to Curia. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to kind of just dive right in. All right, so this is the main dashboard of Curia, the main landing page once you're in. Here's an example of one that's a little more populated. The main dashboard of the interpretive plans basically is laid out as categories. So you control these category cards and what they say. You can choose from a list of icons to apply. And then each of the interpretive plans are categorized how you want them. So this is completely customizable. We can, of course, archive some plans behind the scenes as well if you don't want to see them up front on the main dashboard anymore. We can create new plans. In this case, we're creating from an empty plan and right here, but if we have any of the integrations, TMS, PastPerfect, EMU, we would have additional objects or additional options here for creating from exhibition or creating from event. Depends on your system. EMU, for example, tends to call events, whereas TMS is grouping objects based on exhibitions. So all that nomenclature is unique within different organizations, and we understand that as well and allow the customization of that a bit. So Curia does allow us to customize some of the wording. I'm familiar with a gallery, group, section type buckets or tiers. We allow that to be customized through custom system labels. Just lets you on these plans that we're talking about, which we're going to see here in a second, lets you change that nomenclature so it makes sense to you. A park service may have properties or areas or yards, whereas a museum is going to have galleries type situation. So the first thing we're going to look at is one of Curia's most prominent features, which is the actual hierarchical view of an interpretive plan. So this is all expand, collapse style, drag and drop. So we're adding different galleries and grouping sections within galleries. We're grouping groups within sections, or whatever you choose to call these. So these are the customizable labels I was alluding to. Being able to change this to meet your organization. The interface is a pretty intuitive drag and drop type system. So if I grab a hold of an object, I can go and change the order and put it inside of a section, inside of a group, pretty much however we want to lay this out. It's pretty wide open, free form for you to do that. The object cards themselves can, in an integration sense, come from your collection management system, or they could reside here. It depends on your individual setup. With TMS, Past Perfect, and EMU, for example, those are typically your source of truth, where you store and collect your objects and any of the information about them. But if we want to plan the space, we can come to Curia and you'll have access to your actual objects if we've, gone through and set up this integration. And then it will pull those in. In that sense, they will be what's known as a read-only record, because TMS, Past Perfect, or EMU are the controller of that actual data where it resides. It's just basically a copy of it up here that is just so you can see and manipulate your own objects. So the primary image associated with the object comes across. These fields are writable right now because this is known as a virtual object, meaning we created it here in Curia and we didn't pull it from an integration, for example. So we support both, either integrating, or if you just want to have the objects created here and manipulated here, it can act as a simplistic collection management system in that regard. So these fields are customizable as well. So you'll get a standard set of object fields that come with the system, but we can always upgrade, or I should say add to them or alter them. Those different objects are all definable by the system administrator, which we'll go into access and how that works in Curia when we get a little farther down the road here. But interpretive planning wise, I'm going to go back into my example here so we can see the structure again. The object cards we discussed, if we're integrating and these are coming from, let's say, TMS or Past Perfect, they will show up in your blank plan after you've created it in what's known as the holding bin. Got a little Charlie Brown in here. The objects come in from the integration. They'll just sit in here waiting to be utilized. So in this case, this is just not assigned to our plan, but it's available. So I could take it, I could bring it into our plan, put it right there, and then we can go on to, and if we don't want that, we can always throw it back into the holding bin. So it's just a click and drag. Very simple, intuitive. If you think you can click and drag it, chances are you can. The next major piece here that you'll notice is the element. So these are what we refer to as interpretive elements. This is a descriptor, basically. It will describe any other piece of this hierarchy here. So this will, I'll open this up because it's a pretty complicated form. And here we can pick from types. We have different types and different model element types. So this is all customizable as well. There's just kind of a very common set that we see a lot of different organizations with that we've included, but you can remove, add to, alter, change. Any of that is, wide open here. And this is a cascading dropdown. So there's basically a category that you're picking, and then you get a filtered list from the second drop down of options. So all of these are customizable. We give it a title. You can give it a purpose, and this is a rich control editor, a WYSIWYG controller. So you can do rich text, bold, different fonts. You can drop images in here. Interpretive content, similar, same style control. Curatorial notes, if you want just a basic description of this element. If you want to upload additional images, media files, or documents, we have the spaces for all of those. And then the visitor outcomes. So this here is a managed list as well. So you pick from, you assign the list of visitor outcomes that are possible for this plan, and then each interpretive element can assign which one applies to it, basically. Those are manageable right here. So we have this top navigation that goes across for all the different pieces that go into this. We can identify our target audience. So again, this is just kind of a wide open rich text editor, so you can define how you like the format you would like to describe your target audience. If you have any materials, images, any of that kind of stuff, you can include in the WYSIWYG controller. The visitor outcomes are managed here. So this is that list we saw in the interpretive elements.
Oh. Hey, Clay.
Yep. Did I blink out for a sec there?
No, you're doing great. Hey, one of the comments came in about if we could slow down the cursor movement. It's just jumping all around a little bit.
Oh, okay.
You're doing great. You're doing great, but just maybe slow it just down a hair.
Yep, will do. All right, so this is that list of visitor outcomes that we were looking at. These are all just simple, the actual statement, visitor outcome, what you expect to get. And then we assign those in the plan details, the hierarchy. Next up, we have the evaluations that we may want to attach to this plan. So in this case, we're creating evaluations. And so that there's a form builder in here that allows us to publish the forms, and then you can include the link to the form in email, whatever your advertising or marketing campaign may be, however you want to distribute those. The user will get what is a public URL so that they can fill out the form. They don't require a Curia login or a license to fill out the form. It's anonymously available, and then their results get tagged in here. So we have 2 responses, for example, to this form. I can take a look at this form. We'll see what it looks like to the user. When they click on the link, they'll get this view. And in this case, this is just a test form. I'm asking for a name and a couple of different fields here. So we offer obviously text-based fields, date fields, choice, radio, button columns. All of this can be defined in here. So if we kind of take a look at an example form. And there's no additional cost for someone to fill out the form and submit a response. They'll just get the URL, that anonymous based form, fill out the response, and the responses will be captured. They don't require a Curia license or any of that kind of stuff to answer the form. So kind of think Microsoft Forms if you're familiar with that. So this is just kind of an example of this is the admin side where we're creating a form. So we've got a number of multi-check boxes available, different text boxes, wide open text. We can include images and then ask questions about that image. So you can see there's quite a few options here. So it's a pretty powerful form builder. And then you can designate whether this is a formative or a summative form or others. It doesn't have to be restricted to those. This is a pretty wide open tool that you'd be able to fill in. And then I'm going to go back to the plan. Here are the labels that we mentioned before. So this is a label builder. I'm going to open up this example label that we have. So basically, this is being used currently for, in this example, making signage. So we're looking to make a wooden plaque outside of a garden, for example, and we're kind of defining what we want on that plaque. And we have available to us to include in here any of the data elements that we decided to scope this label to, which may be a little bit complex to describe, but a label is always attached to an interpretive element. So at its basics, you can see there's one label attached. I can add an additional label that'll just open up that wizard again to create a brand new label. It's attached to this element. Because it's attached to this element, it is scoped it is scoped towards the container that it is within. So whatever this element is decorating determines the scope of this label. So in this case, this label is decorating this section. Looks like a nice little typo there that we can actually fix while we're right here. And you see how easy this is to open and edit a section. So in the grounds section, we are decorating this label, and it will have now access to anything in the section, the objects in the section, any other elements and groups that happen to be in this section. It's scoped just to this one little space that we're decorating with it. So with the evaluation forms that I'm just going to answer a quick question while we're still here. The evaluation forms, what we saw when I clicked on the little I to show the form. And let me know if I'm cutting in and out. I'm seeing some bad network activity. Teams is reporting on me here. So if I push this, this is what the client will see, or the user that you sent this form to. They see exactly this, no login. They just get an anonymous form they can fill in and submit. Then in the label, we'll go back to the label builder. So this is that section I was mentioning, the grounds. It hasn't updated quite yet because I just changed that. Now it's fixed. So it's pulling that live from the tree view and scope to just that section. So I can take, if I want, let's say I want the name of the section, I can just push the little plus, and now we get a little control. I've got the label and the value of that label. So again, if we're updating the grounds on the other side on the tree view, this will update in the label as well automatically. We can take and we can resize these and change the fonts around any which way we need to. So we can do some basic designing. Again, this is a good tool for getting a proof of concept together and then exporting it to a PDF, an image, or an SVG, which is a vector graphic based. And then send that off maybe to the final designer for touch-ups before it actually gets sent to the sign manufacturer for actually being created. But it's a good idea pad for scratching this stuff together and adding real content that you had available in your plan and any of the fields that are accessible. I close this. That's the labels. There's just a general area for dropping documents that pertain to this plan. Object search. So this is just basically, this is going to show us all the objects that are in our plan. But since it's a hierarchical tree view, sometimes it may be difficult to find where you may have laid one of these objects if it's a very complex plan. I've seen some rather large ones in the past that required something like this. So in this case, we can filter for them here versus searching for them on the screen with an expand all. We may be searching for fields that aren't shown as a summary on the screen. So we can't use just a simple screen search. We want to come here and filter based on some of the metadata behind our object. And then if we can't figure out where it is, we can hit our find and plan button. It will take us, navigate us right there and highlight it for us. Blink in a little blinking animation there. So within documents, we're collecting the different documents here. We can create subfolders. I do not know if this looks like it is not. Now we do have subfolder functionality. It doesn't look like it's enabled here in this tenant right here. But yes, we're being able to create subfolders and organize files within those. And these documents are pertain to the plan. So they're kind of scoped. They're attached to the plan itself. The object search kind of coming back here where we were searching for an object in our plan. We also have the ability to browse the permanent collection. In this case, we're going to get a lot of test data. So these come from the permanent collection, which is defined in your collection management system, or if you don't have one, imported directly into Curia via a spreadsheet of some kind. And I'll show that once we get to that section. So the permanent collection here is accessible on the left nav, but also in our object search if we want to filter for a specific item in the permanent collection, because we are planning to add it to this plan. So in this case, we're sharing the permanent collection items with any of our interpretive plans. And then they'll just show up in the holding bin. So they would show up here. We'd be able to drag them over into the plan and use them. They will be decorated with a moniker that says they are permanent. So this one came from the permanent collection here, actually. And it shows you that it came from the permanent collection. This can be reused in any plan. Okay, so we had a question. Can a new hard copy actual documents be scanned into the system? So if you're scanning documents with a scanner and uploading them, there's no like scanning functionality, but you would be able to take a PDF, a Word document, any of those and upload them. All right, and then across the top here, you'll see we have some basic reporting. So there's an interpretive plan report. This is just a standard report that's built into the system. It's basically just an information dump of everything in our tree view here. So open this up, it kind of gives you some criteria or some mode of, maybe I don't want to see the big ideas on the report. Maybe I don't want to see the visitor outcomes. If I select all, I'm just going to get that nice Word document that's just going to be a top-down dump of all this, and then you can format it differently. The important thing is getting the data out. And we find these reports are pretty unique across the different organizations. It's opening up on my other screen. So just a informative dump, all the big idea, the visitor outcomes, the different galleries and the object cards and their tombstone labels and everything just kind of dumps out and then can be formatted. And then in the strap down also, there are a few other reports. These are user-defined reports actually here. So let's see. I'll show this is the report wizard. So it's a very simplistic report wizard currently. It's object-based. So any of these reports, if I take a look, it just gives us columns. So we can create columns on the report, name the column and say what fields from the object table are included in it. So it doesn't look at galleries or groups or any of that. It is mostly centered around objects. Most of this, a lot of clients use for exporting object labels as well, just simplistic little tombstone labels. Okay, so another question, can Curia be connected to external databases like a site archive database and be able to search that database while in Curia? So no, the integrations right now it has are simply for TMS, Past Perfect, and EMU. So it integrates with these. TMS, for example, is SQL database at its back end. So if you have a generic SQL database style collection management system, this integration may be configurable to work with your system, but it's something we would have to discover, scope, figure out, make sure that it's possible. Because this integration is pretty low level in the sense that you can custom tailor the SQL queries to pull back the object records and the exhibition objects, all that kind of stuff. So onboarding session wise, we could definitely explore that possibility. So I'm going to come back to interpretive planning here real quick, and we may have covered everything in there. Yep, so we went over the reports. We've looked at the cards. We've looked at, I mentioned big idea a number of times. That's basically loggable we can collect that at the gallery level, the section level, the interpretive planning level. So there's a big idea that kind of flows through. The most local one kind of takes precedent at that point. If there's a big idea on a section, it applies over the big idea from the gallery, for example. Or if you don't provide one, where the gallery big idea then is kind of carried through to the section, if that makes sense. All right, so on the flip side of this, we have project management. So all of the interpretive planning here, we do have a method of linking a project with an interpretive plan so they can kind of go hand in hand. So that's why we see this little link up here to visit the project plan. That just lets us flip back and forth between the two if we want. They are linked, but project management has its own section as well. So here are all the separate projects we may have. For example, a bunch of demo projects we have out here. The color coding is important for later when we start discussing the master timeline. Each of these projects, similar to the interpretive plan, we control these different areas, the different titles of the projects and its start and end date. So at its basic level, to get on a timeline, we need at least this information. Inside the project, we get all of the tasks breakdown. So the project details, we have a chart here that shows the start and end of all these tasks that we have in this project. This can be navigatable and we can zoom in to different areas. Here's the task list itself. So we can have some subtasks as well. So there's some nesting that can occur. Each of the tasks just collects your typical project management type data with the name, who we want to assign it to, start and end dates, due date. The end date is really the due date. A status. If we want to maintain a list of departments that we want to assign this is just informational, but this department list is also customizable. So there is a section in the settings for designating your list of departments. Set a budget and a spend. Again, these are just informational fields for collecting information about this task. And then when we assign it to someone, they will get an email notification that it has been assigned to them. They will receive also additional notifications over time. They will get a reminder 7 days out before the due date. They will get another reminder about 3 days out, and they'll get a reminder the day of, reminding them that this task is due. That's pretty straightforward. Again, another area for collecting documents and an area for project discussion. So this one's a little more of a thread style discussion. So you can have multiple discussions going on. They'll just all be listed here. New discussions and replies. And filtering, of course. Some of these views can get rather large, so we'll be able to filter by department and the assigned user. I had a question about licensing. We will get on to licensing soon. I'll address that at the end. So that's project management really in a whole. The master timeline then kind of brings all those projects together. So in this case, now the projects are being listed, or in this case, actually, these are galleries. So we have a gallery schedule. We can define our galleries, the galleries that are part of the interpretive plans, the project schedule. So these are going to be the cards, the project cards we were looking at earlier, all on the timeline that we can zoom in, see where they lay all together. This is exportable to a PDF. We can export the whole, or we can export exactly what you're looking at here. So it's got both options there. The project schedule, then there's the interpretive plan schedule. These are the start and end dates of the interpretive plans themselves. And then the all tasks view. Now this one, of course, is a roll-up of all tasks in all projects, so it can get quite complex. Below it is a text version of that, defaulting to my own tasks that are assigned to me. So that's rolled up and I can see across all the projects what is due for me. And of course I can change that, see all tasks, and then you'll get a view of all the different projects and their tasks. So that's also pretty big view. And filtering will be important there. But mainly the my tasks is the biggest attraction here, knowing exactly what's on your plate when you come and review Curia project side. Moving on, we have the permanent collection, which we did touch on already. These come from collection management, or if you don't have a collection management system, you can download a template, a CSV format or a Microsoft Excel format spreadsheet. It'll have the columns names across that it expects. In that case, your template will actually be custom to you if you change the object columns around or name them differently or add new. There will be additional columns on your template. And then once you fill that out with your object information in that format and import it, they will be imported into the permanent collection. And we also offer an export if you just want to pull your items back out again, if they were created in Curia only. So moving on, we've discussed permanent collection, master timeline, project management. We've covered pretty much everything. We have, of course, the settings area. This is where you're going to just manage the different pieces of data you may need. The interpretive plan categories, these are the cards where we define the cards that are available. And also a note, if you have a category, it may not show up unless it has an actual plan assigned to it. So if there's a plan assigned to it, then it'll show up here. Otherwise, the card for the most part will be hidden. We're not going to have an empty card here that has nothing in it. But you can go and manage all of these in another view. The galleries are defined also. Again, this is just simple data entry on the back end. Someone with admin roles will cover this side of it. And that does kind of come to the licensing question. So licensing wise right now, it is, and I don't know, David, do you want to explain this at all, or I can go ahead and run through it?
Yeah, go right ahead, Clay, because
Okay.
I think it
Yep.
goes into the
So
different
we
kinds.
do have on the website, yep, we have a pricing out here as well for Curia, but basically the license is if you pay or commit to a year, it's $50 a license monthly. If you pay month to month, it's 60. That gets you a single contributor. One license is a contributor, which means someone who has hand on keyboard can edit everything, can go through and create data. They can do everything, basically. And with that license comes 5 viewers, meaning read-only users, who like stakeholders, people who are they need to see the project, but they don't necessarily need to add any text to it. But they can make comments, so they'll be able to take part in the discussion threads as a viewer, and that kind of thing. They'll be able to review the material, they just won't be able to create it. And then, of course, that comes also with 50,000 objects from your collection management system. So if you have a collection management system that has 100,000 objects and you need them all in, you would require 2 licenses. In that case, you would also at that point have 2 contributors and 10 viewers with 2 licenses. So that kind of explains the simple, sign up, get started licensing. We do have special licensing if you need something different than that can offer. If you have maybe an exorbitant amount of objects but very few users, we will definitely willing to work with you. So. And then anybody can start up a free trial. Of course, everyone here is going to get a 365-day trial.
And what we see commonly is that a lot of organizations will start with 1 or 2, and they end up somewhere and they stay in that range, or they may add, depending if some of the larger organizations have added 5 or 10. So this is not like everyone in the organization truly needs a license. It's only the folks that are essentially part of this interpretive process. So we've seen people get by with 1 or 2 just fine. And especially in maybe a smaller organization, that's generally all they would ever need.
Yeah, and they're not locked into a person. You can change the licenses, take contributor away from one person, give it to another, and that license just follows that allotment. So external users, can they get access to edit a common document like Google Docs? So right now, the document management is more of a storage. You pull it down, you look at it, you put it back up. But there is some live integration that we are working on in the feature that hasn't been rolled out yet. That would be your common see everybody on an Office document, for example. So it supports Office documents, Microsoft Word, Excel, that kind of thing. That feature hasn't been rolled out yet, but it is in the works. I hope that answered the question. I guess another little bit that I didn't cover, just real quick. These projects, these ones may be wide open, but we can edit these. So when we're actually creating a project, you do have the option of making it public or private. So in this case, public, any of your contributors and your viewers can come into this project and see it. Any contributor could contribute to it. Any viewer obviously could comment. If we set this to private, now I can go and I can assign a specific set of users that can see this project or work in this project, and others wouldn't have access unless they were hand invited, by an administrator. So we have to have an owner. There's always an owner, but then we can change the different role when we add somebody and change them to a contributor or an owner. In this case, she is admin, so she would not be a viewer, but your viewers will be available in here too. If you have viewers, you'd be able to select viewer for them and add them to the project. These will show up in the interface with well, here's one example of one right now, actually. So this one is a private. Someone with no access to this wouldn't be able to navigate in and utilize this project. So yeah, that is primarily an overview of Curia's basic functionality. Probably don't really need to get too far into the settings back end here. We'll get into that if we do some integrations. But definitely onboarding wise, I'll run through this with you if you want a session like that, and we'll get it up and running.
So everyone, this was a really quick demo, just a really high level demo. What we've found is that people generally have a lot of questions, and they don't have all of their team members on the call today. It's just not possible for timing. So we often do a follow-up demo with you and the team. So we would certainly welcome that opportunity to come in and do another demo with you and maybe the collective group that would be a part of embracing and bringing Curia into your organization. We would just ask that everyone that would be a part of that group be present at that call, because usually that's where the most dialogue happens. That's where most of the conversations and really determining if it's going to be a fit for your organization, they happen on those kind of calls. Where we see most of the call it delays or things that don't move forward are when we only get one person from an organization and we don't get the entire group together. So we're happy to do a second demo for you to get your entire team together and do those. And then again, from here, everybody that's attended will certainly get one license plus the onboarding session to really get you started. But that's often how we see things getting started. Again, if you wanted to do it on your own, we do have self-help videos. We do have start videos. There's a ton of documentation as well. But happy to answer any questions for either about the product, the structure, coming attractions, or just maybe more questions about how it might apply to your organization. So feel free to drop those in the chat session right now, and we'll get all those questions going.
I have a couple that came in. One was, how user friendly is it for employees who are not tech savvy?
So yeah, as we demoed the interface, it'll be basically just what you saw. So everything's laid out pretty, basically intuitively. The left nav is the most important thing to lead you everywhere. Yeah, I would say there's not too much complexity. Employees should have pretty easy time navigating around Curia.
Are there any limitations to what data can be integrated?
It is mostly the system. So if we're integrating with a SQL backend, there may be a way to do it, but most of the integrations we have are set to TMS, Past Perfect, and EMU. If we had a lot of requests for a specific collection management system that we're not supporting now, we're definitely open ears to hear that and would love to learn more about it.
Leah, is that the only way? I know those three may not be for everyone have those three, but
yes.
I believe we can export from either.
Yes, that's the spreadsheet, spreadsheet exporting and importing for the permanent collection that I was showing earlier.
So we
be able to get a spreadsheet of the correct format, fill it in with your object data, and upload it again.
Absolutely.
So catalog it. I haven't heard of that one. It depends on what they have. It could be simple, or it could be 100% custom to interface with them without talking to them first and seeing what their system is. If they offer an API that we can access, or direct, SQL access, any of that kind of stuff. Definitely like to scope it out and know, the very popular ones out there, and what we should include.
Like, what would be a good question for them to ask if they don't have one of the main three? Is it just to ask, can they export their collection management system into an Excel type of format, or what's the best way for them to check?
Yeah, the Excel format is in Curia. So if we're in the permanent collection screen, and they have no collection management system configured, they'll have that import and export available. And there's a template button that downloads an empty spreadsheet of the columns they need that Curia is going to accept. Because it will need to be in that format for Curia to recognize it, the object name, the object, any of those types of fields that are laid out, so it can map them and import them into the proper place.
And as Clay mentioned earlier, that we do also customizations. So as a part of our software development group here, we have done custom work for integrations for other solutions that are just not, again, part of those main three. We just developed those because they were the most common. But if you have something that maybe is of interest or want to explore that more, we absolutely work with third-party solutions. They often have open APIs that we can pull the data from. And sometimes we just have to give them the information about what type of format that we need to import to be able to access all of your objects.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah, we have a couple. This one's, we're just starting out, 500 items, house museum. What collection management system would be a better starting point?
Now they're asking the other attendees too.
And then we
Yeah,
have another. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, if people have suggestions, yeah, for sure, throw them out. I know just starting out, it's hard to gauge. I mean, you got to evaluate each one, obviously, and see if it's the right fit for you. Some of them are overkill, tons of stuff you don't need. Some of them are too simplistic. So, finding the right level and how customizable are they,
And even for Red Level, we've discussed the potential of having a collection management component to Curia because our customers,
Yep.
they're saying that they're using one or they don't get the full features of it, and they're looking for other options. So we've considered that. We haven't announced or launched that objective, but there's just a lot out there. There's open source ones that are free, certainly a number of ones that you can grab and use to get started.
So a backup of your work. So right now, there isn't like a backup package for an interpretive plan as a whole, for example. Right now, you would just archive them so you don't see them. They're still in the system. There's nothing that, that's going to be deleted or anything like that. They're still there and available. You could unarchive them and work on them again, or, just keep them in the background. The actual objects themselves are exportable into a spreadsheet format, if you want to do that. But outside of that, the plans, the reports that they spit out, would be close to what you're looking for. It's just a dump of all that data. Okay.
There was a question I see from Faye about the support and training that we provide. So again, we're here for email-based questions. We're here for phone calls. We do have videos available online for getting started. Often the most success comes from when we help you build your first interpretive plan. So again, something real simple in the sense that you're the true creative artist, and we're just going to help you utilize the tool to be able to do that. And I think once you get the hang of it, like any tool, you'll be able to take that and expand that within the groups. And with that, we would love to schedule a follow-up demo with the rest of your team. So we'll be reaching out. So please look at your scheduling, and we'd be happy to set something up, likely right after the upcoming holiday. So with that, I hope everyone enjoyed the demo today. We certainly did. We enjoyed sharing the time and the information here. But we are available, as Christy said, by calling our main number at 248-412-8200 or info@curia.com, or www.curia.com.